Hi there, Karen Barber with Prayer Ideas. And today we have another great new idea for you on prayer, and that is how to find word answers to prayer from outside sources. Now, finding word answers to prayer is a huge, wonderful subject, so we're going to actually do 4 sessions on it. And the reason is that when we learn to hear back from God in prayer, it's going to make our prayer lives interactive, and it's also going to make our lives a lot better because we know what God is saying to us at all times. Well, these are actually just ideas sent to us from God, and they are in our minds because that's where our language abilities reside. And these can be either spoken words or written words. Now, we get all of these words all the time. We could be sitting here at the kitchen table and getting words from our family or friends. How do we know which ones are from God? We usually only recognize them when they come in a quirky way, like on a bread wrapper or something. Well, here's a way that is recommended in the Bible. St. Paul was going around preaching a word that was really unusual. He was telling people about Jesus, and a lot of places just threw him out because they said, no, this can't be true. But he came to this little place called Berea, and the Bereans, it says, were more noble. And the reason they were is that they received the message with great eagerness and examined the scripture every day to see if what Paul said was true. And that's Acts 17:11. So this is kind of a little process you may be going through. You get something and it feels good. It feels, you have some eagerness to know, is this from God? And so what you do is you go back and you examine it, and you certainly examine it using the scriptures. You could go for advice from a friend. So here's a really quick rule of thumb on finding word answers. And the question you can ask yourself, does this bring light? And there's a wonderful passage. It's in Psalm 119, 105, and it says, "Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path." And what does light do? You're in the darkness and it makes you feel more secure and more in charge. Or it lights your path so that you can see the next step to take. And so that's what word answers are like from God. Now, word answers can come to you in all sorts of ways from outside sources. They could be good advice from a friend. You could have a phone call. You could get a text message. You could get an email. You could find some good information on the internet. Just make sure it's a reliable source when you do. And you can get it in lots of different unusual ways. Oh, lyrics to songs, those are great. You could even be reading the Bible and all of a sudden something just like jumps right out at you like it's written right for you for that very moment. So these are great ways. And you could even get one off of a t-shirt. All right, it happened to me one day. His son's graduating. We get in the car. We're driving there. And he says, "Oh, I need a button sewed onto my uniform." And I'm like, screech. We stop at a drugstore. I get this little sewing kit. I'm in the car. Grouchy. Why didn't he think of this before? And we get to the graduation place. And a woman walks by. And she's wearing this t-shirt. It says, "Too blessed to be stressed." And it hit me. Here's a word from God to you, Karen, to stop being so grumpy and just enjoy this day because you are blessed that your son is graduating. And so that was a fun word from God to me that day. Well, let me tell you about this bread wrapper, how this spoke to me one day. Well, it was Christmas time, and unfortunately, you know how you kind of let things slide. So I wasn't praying as much, I wasn't reading my Bible, I wasn't getting together with Christian friends. We're all busy, right? We've got stuff to do. And so we were going out of town, and I had to take food, so I was throwing stuff on the counter, and it was just like chaos. And then I get out this bread wrapper. Don't you just love this sweet little girl on this bread wrapper, old-fashioned? Well, it turns out that they kind of changed their bread wrapper for Christmas. And there was a picture of her doing this. And there were words under it, and it says, "Not by bread alone." Well, I understood that because it was a Bible passage, and it happened to Jesus when he had been in 40 days in the wilderness without eating anything. And the devil's thinking, oh, this is a good time to get a word into Jesus and tempt him a little bit. So he comes in and says, "If you're the Son of God, change that rock into bread." And what does Jesus do? He shuts down the devil with a word, and the word is, "Man does not live by bread alone." By bread alone, that's what was on the wrapper. But by every word that comes from the mouth of God. So you can shut down the devil with a good word from God. Isn't that wonderful? And how did Jesus know it was written? He'd read it. It was in the Bible, he'd heard it. It was written way back in Deuteronomy, but he could apply it for that moment. And that's what you want to be able to do with those word answers from God. Apply it at that moment. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Visit us at the prayerideas.org website. Go ahead and subscribe to our Prayer Ideas YouTube channel. Well, thank you for joining us. And until next time, may God bless you and may you enjoy a good new word from God today.